What is up, everybody? This is Marshall Lee of DonkeyJawProjects.com. And today we're going to talk about awareness in comics, or not awareness in comics, but like creating. I mean, we'll talk about it all, but creating comics that are kind of about awareness, or but you'll see. You'll see what we're going to talk about. That being said, Mr. Ronnie is here with me. Ronnie Gunter, how you doing, man?
Pretty good today. Thank you for having me on.
Anytime, man. You're always welcome on my channel. So, where can people find you, sir? I do have a link for your YouTube down below.
You can find me. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, all as Crimson Owl Comics.
Awesome.
And if you follow the link tree, you could read my recent comic about dystonia, a movement disorder that affects people in many ways, just as myself.
Totally. So yeah, man. So that's the main thing. I think we were starting to have a little bit of a conversation about it the other day in audio or something, and then we're like, you know what, we should talk about this on actual video. So yeah, I mean, I guess we'll just start with you. You could let people know, kind of what you made this comic about, and kind of how it came about and everything.
Well, in like pretty much like way before the pandemic started, or like probably around that time, I was having like uneven shoulders. Like right now it's kind of unnoticeable because I'm in a chair that helped me support, but I had some uneven shoulders. And then I went to the doctor and everything. And it's like, oh, your back is kind of out of alignment. I'll send you to physical therapy and see how that is. And I've been doing physical therapy during this whole time for 6 months. And during the time, everything just started getting worse. Like I started noticing that my fingers started twitching more. And then the doctor's like, yeah, like my regular physician doctor and even the physical therapist is like, yeah, we could tell that you're doing the work, but no matter what we're doing, there's something wrong. So we'll send you to, orthopedic. And the orthopedic is like, we took x-rays, your body has a curve and everything, but yet I think it's more of a neuromuscular disorder. And then, the twitches became something more where like now, like this hand, I can't even half the time, like the finger, I could the thumb, I could have no problem, but the fingers are kind of hard to really extend. And, with the neck, I could do that. But with that, it's like, got to relax and just let my neck go back to place because it'll just lock up. And just the other day, my right leg was like really almost like stiff as a board. And that's pretty much what dystonia does. It like pretty much makes your muscles cramp up and spaz out on you. And a lot of times it's not pain involved, but it causes a lot of tiredness and exhaustion. Like the physical therapist is like, with the tiredness and exhaustion, it's going to like drain a lot of energy out you. So you have to find ways to like eat, try to get something to drink or eat something to try to keep that energy. And, with the doctor trying to say, well, you should probably, take time off of work and, you're probably going to have to do physical therapy and medication the rest of your life. And I'm like, I'm not even in my 40s yet. And you're telling me this?
Yeah.
But overall, I'm like, I can't just think negative about it. I'm going to do something great as a comic book artist. And I made a comic book about it.
Right.
Because, just like with Michael J. Fox as an actor, he took his face and made Parkinson's disease into something bigger than it's ever been before Michael J. Fox or Muhammad Ali came over with it. So I'm like, that's the best thing I could do as an artist is make a comic about it. And so for a month or probably a little bit more, I just sat down, took articles and found out ways how I could like make that fun and educational, but in a cool way. So, with like the image that you had for the thumbnail was basically showing like a robot draining almost completely dying low on batteries. And I'm from the 80s, so I think of Johnny Five and all that stuff from Short Circuit, and I'm like, I could indicate that. And then just thinking of fun ways to like educate people, but make it for like when a kid or a teenager picks this up, that they'll be like, oh wow, this is really cool. What is this? Because you could, even in comics, if you want to spread awareness about any other type of disorder and you want to go about it in a superhero way, there are ways to do that. You just have to sit down and find out ways to really create it. Because like a real good example, it's not like a comic book, but if anyone's ever seen Osmosis Jones, it's basically how this virus enters Bill Murray's body in the movie, and he takes a pill, and the pill kind of has like this superhero persona, and he teams up with like this like wannabe like renegade. I'm a not team up with any partners white blood cell cop, and there's ways to like really, like I said, educate people, but find ways that are going to be fun and exciting, that you want to like grab older audience. Because me and you growing up, you had things like Captain Planet and all these other cartoons that it had don't play with matches, don't do this and don't do that, but it was it had action in it, and that's kind of what is missing out on today with a lot of things.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's interesting because like you said, we have like this kind of platform, and I even think about that too, because like I know people who have struggled with certain diseases, and it's like not it doesn't, like, sometimes it's a weird disease that isn't really well known, and it's not really being researched super amount. Like it is a little bit, but once somebody brings that awareness to it, like you said, with the Parkinson's and Michael J. Fox and stuff, that actually, I've heard people say within these communities of people who have these like diseases, they're like, well, even doctors I've heard say this, well, to be honest, until somebody famous gets it, there's only going to be so much research that's even done, because the money flows when the awareness comes to it, so
yeah, exactly.
It's actually pretty important to try to bring awareness to these things, or maybe to find a way that to kind of leverage certain things to do that. So I mean, it's cool that you did this in kind of your own way that you could, and I like that it's like you decided to take a positive step with it, because I can't even imagine being told this kind of thing. So that's really cool, and you just keep it positive. You're still doing your YouTube, you're still doing comics, and you're making it happen. So I appreciate that example. I mean, I think that inspires a lot of people. That it's interesting that like there's a couple different ways to approach it. Like you went kind of the instructive way, you're like, I'm literally like informing people about this thing, which I think that's one route to go, and I think that's a very good route to go, because I mean, when it comes down to it, there's other ways to do it, but it doesn't, like nobody's going to really get any of the details, if you don't go that informative route. So you could kind of couple it with different things. I feel like sometimes awareness used to be brought like through even just like, it makes me think of like the old, cartoons and stuff, He-Man and
G.I. Joe at the end, and G.I. Joe, you always had G.I. Joe coming along saying, don't play with matches, don't do this, don't do that, So
And I think it's weird, because I think a lot of times people, they're afraid to have like such a message sometimes, like something that's either a moral message or even something instructive like this, because they feel like they'll come across as preachy or something. But I feel like there's a place for that too. You know, there's a place for all the different kinds of, you know, comics you could want. And one approach too is, you know, make a story about it. You know, maybe that'll be something you can do too if you want to or not, you know, or anybody who is watching and they have something that they want to bring awareness to. I think that when you make a story, it helps you to create empathy around that topic, and then people might be more interested to either look into it, or people who can relate with it, you know, that's something for them to grab onto and be like, you know, somebody understands me, you know. um, oh, are you there? Looks like you got stuck. Ronnie's stuck, and hopefully he'll come back. But that being said, you know, there's so many things with this. I'm curious, you guys in the chat. I'd love to hear if you have any examples too. Yeah, somebody says GI Joe's PSAs were the best part of the show. That was nefarious. You know, and that's the thing, is it's like it reminds me also of you know, the public service announcements that people do. You know, you hear it too, like, what is that thing, like sometimes I'll hear it on the radio. It's just like a public service announcement, and then it'll say this was brought to you by blah 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 or whatever. So there's a place for all that kind of stuff. You know, but I think that the thing is, and I kind of wish Ronnie was here to kind of talk about it, because I have, you know, things I want to bring up, but I want to hear his reaction. So hopefully we'll get him back. Let me just take a look through the chat real quick while we're waiting for Ronnie. I see that we got his brother in here. What's up? And some of his friends. So welcome to the channel if you haven't been here before. Let's see, what else do we got? We got Frank Comics. They still make those? Yeah, they still make them. I thought you knew, Frank. Goodness. So yeah, if you were wondering, the robot, yeah, that kind of robot picture in the thumbnail, that's in his comic. And I think he said that there's, you know, I should get the link to that and put it in the description so that you guys can check it out. I'm actually surprised he hasn't been able to get oh, you know what? He said that we got the hurricanes going on or something, and he was afraid he might lose power. So maybe that's what happened. So I will go on with this a little bit, but let's see. I just want to make sure I check all the chat real quick before I get back into the topic here. Got a lot of people in here. Abe, Kamikaze Hustle, Stinch is in here. What's up, everybody? Kami Mark. Oh, we got a lot of stuff going on. Oh, he's starting his computer back up. So, yeah, power went out. That sucks. Lame Vision Official says, sometimes the best lessons or awareness showcase are subtle and are tied within the story itself. It doesn't have to be in your face. Yeah, totally. See, that's what I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit. Again, I was hoping that Ronnie will be back, but you know, I think that there's a lot of important things in the world, and there's a lot of things that people believe in very strongly, and we're seeing a lot of ways that people are trying to get the word out about those things, and some of them are good and some of them are not so good, you know. And you know, one thing is art, creativity, movies, TV, music, comics. These things are they can be very persuasive when you put things in the context of a story. You're opening up a discussion almost to a certain extent. Like, I think when it becomes preachy is when the author is trying to tell somebody something like, this is how it is. But if you even open up the discussion about something that might be controversial or might be something that somebody doesn't agree with, just opening that discussion up and showing that, hey, I know that you might think about it this way, but did you ever consider, that there's other ways to think about it as well, and then present the different things. Even in one comic, you can present the different sides and be fair to them. Don't make the thing you hate the evil villain. Make some of the protagonists be in favor of the thing you're not into, and some of the protagonists be in favor of the things that you are into, and by the same thing with the villains. And when you open up that discussion, I think that can be helpful. I mean, I do personally, my comics will kind of have my viewpoint in them, that it probably will be biased towards a certain thing, because but I do want to open the discussion up too. The thing is art brings people together, music brings people together, and that's what we need more of. Politicians, bring people apart, and other people who have other agendas, push people apart. That's why art is so awesome and amazing. And but it can also be divisive and manipulative, unfortunately. Now, we're talking about awareness, not necessarily in political views or religious views or anything like that. We're, more talking about like awareness with even just things that everybody can kind of agree with and stuff like that. So there's that stuff too, so like cancer or something, or, these diseases. I'd be curious to hear you guys, what are some examples that you've remembered? We got the PSAs going. Rambo had some PSAs. Abe's saying Rambo had PSAs. I don't, I've never actually watched Rambo. I've seen pieces of it, but when I was younger, didn't have access to it. I like the Mortal Kombat shirt that Ronnie's wearing.
Yeah, I'm back. Have to do it on my phone while the internet's loading up on the here. So
yeah. So you didn't fully lose
thank goodness
power
for the phone.
Yeah.
No, I mean the power completely like blew out for like a second, but that's Florida.
Yeah. No doubt.
But yeah.
Yeah, yesterday when I was talking to you about, I'm like total brain fart. Like I can't remember exactly where you're from, but I was thinking in my mind Florida, but I was like, if I had to say Florida and it's wrong, then that'll be messed up. It's like I should know this by now. We've been friends for long enough. But yeah, that's so you guys got some storms going on. It's crazy. Oh, and now we got him frozen again, just as soon as I was trying to talk to him. Kami Mark says, I think every story must have a moral or political message. Otherwise, it's not a hero's journey. That's an interesting point of view. Let's see. Well, a hero's journey is basically, to say that is basically the same thing as saying like a positive change arc generally is a hero's journey. So they're moving from a place where they believe in something, and they have a certain thought pattern or belief, maybe even a lie that they believe, but they're generally a good person. They're generally have a good way about them, but then they have to go through a process to come to the realization that the thing that they believe isn't right, and they need to adhere to something different. They have to make a change before they can move forward. And usually that's kind of a pretty cool vehicle to put some kind of moral or some kind of message through. That's kind of what, story is to a certain degree, except for there's also flat arcs and negative change arcs as well. But
so
are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, it was having connection problems. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got anything else to ask before the power went out?
Well, I was just kind of thinking that I was talking to them about how the just how stories, like, we don't realize the power of story sometimes. And so, I mean, there's been a lot of times where I've started to think differently about something because of a story I've read or watched or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't know. So I feel like it's a great story is a great avenue to bring awareness through.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, no matter what media you're going to, but I mean, with comics is one of those things that people kind of think that they're supposed to be just for like entertainment, but they could be used for so many ways. Because I mean, I think it's Scott Circlin or someone out there like in our little circle, if I'm not mistaken, who has done comics for like advertising. I
Yeah.
think they talked about that before. So yeah, I mean, comics are a big like thing out there to like educate people. You just have to find the right way to approach people where they're going to actually want to pick it up and give it a read, because sometimes people don't want to read about stuff and be informative about stuff unless it's entertaining to them, because that's how sometimes our brains work, sadly.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think you're right. It's like it's just the medium actually will get people to be into something. Like there's a lot of
Hmm.
people who have talked about that comics is a bridge to reading.
Yeah.
It's like to reading prose stuff. And um, even like I think of just different, like more biographical type of comics and stuff. Um, I was actually going through, you guys might have seen me go through these comics right here last night, these old comics that I found at the shop. Um, and one thing that I wanted to pick up, there was a bunch of them like this one, because I'm doing a story based on the Odyssey. So I picked this up. But there was a bunch of comics like this Classics Illustrated and different ones where it was like I saw one, it was like about Benjamin Franklin and different like historical things that have happened.
Hmm.
And I'm like, well, a lot of kids, they might just kind of gloss over that stuff in school. They learn enough to pass the test. But if it was
Yeah.
presented to me in a comic book, maybe I'd be more interested, in checking it
Hmm.
out, as a kid, who wants to do other things. If you put it in the form that people like to see things in, that's a great way to do it. I mean, there has been historical comics and stuff, um, like even in indies and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, even like war comics and stuff like that. I mean, I think about like there was the famous, I think it's what is it, Green Lantern or something with Neil Adams and somebody else, I forget. And it was like about drugs and stuff, and it was kind of a big landmark issue that kind of brought awareness to drugs and stuff, which is interesting. There's been things like
Yeah,
that.
Green Lantern, he was actually the one of the very first ones to introduce like drug addiction, and it was with Speedy. He was actually addicted to heroin, if I'm not mistaken, because it was one of those things that they really never had like a superhero in comics addicted to something like that. And then later on, you had Iron Man addicted to alcohol. So yeah, and
Yep.
it just goes back to that education thing, because I can't remember the name of the movie, but like there was this movie where this kid was like being pressured to do drugs and everything, and you had all these different cartoon characters like Slimer from the Ghostbusters, Care Bears, all these different 80s, like 90 late 80s cartoon characters trying to like help the kid to not get him to like be pressured in to do the drugs. I wish I remember what the movie was, but I, I mean, it made a big impact to have me remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this stuff is very persuasive, and in some ways, you know the fact that it is so persuasive and you can bring awareness through
Mm.
something also means it's a big responsibility. It's like
Yeah.
there is a lot of power in making comics or other things, and with that comes that responsibility. and people do use it. Like I think about like the hip hop I grew up on, there were some positive messages. There was a lot of negative messages as well. Luckily, you know, I was able to navigate through that enough and not go down the negative path really, but personally. But some people might. There's all kinds of things that happen, but they even like alcohol companies, they would notice that people started certain demographics started drinking certain alcohols more, and
Hmm.
they would see them in like rap lyrics, and they're like, oh, now we could actually promote that, or even there was like Wu-Tang had like St. Ides commercials and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they would also talk about positive things too. Sometimes they talk about like, wear a condom or something, or at
Yeah.
least there it's kind of, a positive thing, or I don't know. Sometimes there were some positive messages, like I think
Hmm.
of like Tribe Called Quest and stuff, and De La Soul, and other groups kind of like that. Arrested Development was one of my favorite groups back in the days.
Hmm. Yeah,
Uh, they had
for
some good
sure.
stuff to say.
But yeah, I mean, while I'm thinking here, another person actually has an awareness comic when you think about it, and that would be Joshua Kimball with his faith and mental illness.
Yeah,
You
that's a
know.
good point. Yeah, I mean, just sharing your story and being honest about it, and being authentic.
Hmm.
That's what he's doing, and he went through that situation to the point where this isn't really giving anything away, because if you go and read the comic, it's like the first thing that happens. But basically it opens up with him wanting to commit suicide or trying to commit suicide. I can't remember exactly how far he went with in that. It's been a while since I read it, but that's where it starts. So he's not in a good place at this point, and it shows. Okay,
Hmm.
now you're going to see him go through this process of dealing with mental illness. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, that's powerful stuff. You know, I've heard a lot of people say, that they've read certain things from certain creators, and then they go and contact them, and they're like, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here, because, I read this and it really impacted my life.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, I'm gonna try to send in the description if I can. Let's see, so that way people could read it. I mean, if people follow my link tree, right there at the top, it'll say dystonia awareness, and they'll be able to read it from there. So
oh yeah, can you, if you put the link in the private thing, I can throw it right into
yeah,
um, the private chat. I can throw it into the thing.
let's see if I can.
So, So yeah, I don't know. I think comics are powerful. I mean, I had this kind of conversation with Samax Amen,
Hmm.
and this was I don't know, this was like close to a year ago, maybe, I don't know, but he was talking about all the different uses for comics, in the sense that you could actually make a living from like strip comics or something, or smaller, like using comics to help other businesses and stuff.
Oh
Um,
yeah, for sure.
and like, so like if you go on social media, and they post like their thoughts on Twitter, or on Facebook, that'll go so far. But if you put a comic there, that'll
Mhm.
get more people's eyes on it, and maybe put your message out more. So it can be used as a business thing, even for business awareness. But that just goes to show you that there's a lot of reach for this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So let's see. Did you send that link at all?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to do on the phone.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. You know what? It's not the same link that's in the Discord, is it?
uh,
That one just
no,
brought like you just like almost download the comic, I think. Is that what it is?
yeah, but this one, I have it directly linked. Let me see what I can do.
let's see. I was in Finnish Comic Share. I'll get that link loaded up just in case if I can find it. It's a little further back. So yeah, I mean, there's also people who were
Yeah, maybe people could like just copy that in the description if they can, and just follow it from there.
oh, okay. Here, I'll get over there again. Um, but even like in war times when comic creators have gone, been in the military and stuff, they've made stuff, propaganda stuff or whatever, or just there's been instructional comics and animations
Yeah.
created for the soldiers to kind of help them to understand even just safety things and stuff, just all kinds of different things.
I mean, yeah, I mean, when you really think about it, I mean, they have illustrations for how to, put on a seatbelt on a plane, or how to use your life jacket and everything. So,
Yeah,
art is a very powerful expression to educate people,
totally.
because one image could say 1,000 words than you saying 1,000 words, pretty much.
That's true. That's true. You could say 1,000 words and 1,000 words per image.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm still not seeing the link, but that's all right. Later on, after I'm done with this, I'll throw the link in the description. But you guys should definitely check it out. Um,
But
okay, so
anyone has any questions for me per chance? Don't know
yeah,
if anyone.
absolutely. We'll take any questions. Frank sent me the link, so I'm going to get that.
Oh,
And
awesome. Yeah.
Frank is the man. He's
He is
always
the
ready to
man.
help. Thank you, Frank. All right. Let's see. Here we go. I'm gonna put it in the thingy. Here is the link. This should be clickable because I'm putting it in there. I hope. So definitely check that out. It's a short comic. It took me like
Yeah.
a minute to read. And
Mhm.
it's cool. I like the illustration style you used. You want to talk about a little bit how you created it?
Yeah, I mean, with the comics that I'm creating now, especially because right now I'm big into like creating horror comics, and with my show I'm doing horror comic reviews. And with that, instead of like going with black and white, I really dig 80s, especially with like pop art. So a lot of my work that I'm doing now has that very like pop art feel to it, with like the bright colors and with all the like little dots and everything. So yeah, I mean, it's been really fun to like really grow and learn more on how to like have this style become my own.
Yeah. Yeah, you've definitely made it your own. I can see the mix between your style before and how you've introduced those things. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, that's the thing too, is like even with our comics, a lot of times we wonder like how can we get eyes on it? How can we get people to
Mhm.
read our comics? Um, and one thing that Ronnie's doing right here is a big part of it. Give it away for free. Give a part of it away for free.
Yeah.
Kind of cool, when it comes to trying to do something specifically to bring awareness to, you know, because it's almost like a charitable thing. Like, it makes sense to, if you can, give that away for free,
Mhm.
in different ways, find ways that you can get it. And, maybe you could create a little mini comic, and whenever you sell a comic, you give that away for free too. Or,
Yeah.
you could go to your local comic shops and say, hey, I have this thing. I was just trying to bring awareness about this disease I have or whatever. And, not trying to promote anything, just wanted to let people know it's a comic. Maybe you could slip it into people's bags when they come and get comics or something.
Yeah. Especially with the month of September, because September is Dystonia Awareness Month,
Right.
and And pretty soon, because I went on the website to like the dystonia awareness website, I'm like, I'm a comic book artist. I made this, I don't want anything out of it. I just want you guys to share it if any way possible. Just let people know that, this is me, but I have my name on it and everything. But just to like whatever I can to like educate people and for people to like get enjoyment out of it, because in one of the pictures when you read it, you'll see how like I have a cartoon version of me, and like you have monsters coming out of the monster hands coming out of the shadows. And that's
Mm,
kind of what it is that it's like scary because you have like this invisible, like almost like monster, like half the time you're literally fighting with your muscles because you're trying to do daily activities while your hand or whatever is affecting you wants to like not work properly. So
yeah,
that's how I depict it as like basically a monster lurking in the shadows trying to tug at you to get you to like under the covers to just basically like you know hurt you. And that's pretty much what it is sometimes. If it doesn't hurt you in a your muscles don't hurt in a physical way, it could hurt you in an emotional way because you know people look at you and it's like, what's going on with him? Why is he looking like that? And
yeah,
with dystonia, it's one of those things like Parkinson's. They tell you the more tired or the more stressed you are, the more like painful and the more spasmodic and everything will become. It's like, well, that that's not fun because if people looking at you, you're gonna like try not to like get upset by people looking at you in a weird way, but sometimes you get that way, you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean that's the thing is whenever you see somebody out in the wild and they have something kind of odd, whatever it is, there's all kinds of things,
Yeah.
it's easy to just kind of look at it and think weird, but if you just think about it for a couple more seconds more and be like, they're probably going through something. There's probably a reason why whatever it
Mm,
is that I see is odd, you know.
yeah.
Um, and it's cool. I love the point you just made about, how you were, you could have chose to just be like straight instructive with this, and
Hmm.
because like in the beginning you have like the anatomical body and stuff, and you're like mapping some things out, but then you also, like you said, you have like the monster thing. You had like the goggles with the eyes and stuff, and
Hmm.
it's like it really gives you a sense of like this is like a disorienting thing. This is, it gives you it almost, it's like a metaphor that like that kind of, it not only conveys the actual like information, but it conveys the feeling.
Hmm.
And then af- towards the end you offer a piece of hope, which actually I don't have it, but like reading it, I was, that
Yeah.
feels very good. That feels like I would be very happy to have read this if I had this issue.
Yeah. And
So
and even with that, finding like something creative to like write something that's meaningful and have something creative to go with that. And just, I thought like that, I'm not going to spoil it. I'll let people read it, but I thought that was like the best image to like end it there.
right, yeah,
So,
that was really creative. I would have, you know, it's definitely creative. I don't know that I would have thought to do it that way. So
well,
that's
thank
good
you.
stuff. We got this comment here. I've seen comics from Lame Vision Official. I've seen comics that don't spread awareness, but the fans of the comic will follow the artist who will use their platform to spread awareness to their readers. In an age of social media, it's easier. That's a great point. you
Hmm.
know, the thing is, um, and everybody has different approaches, but it's like one thing we forget as comic creators sometimes, we just want to create our awesome comic that we were inspired and stuff, but when it comes
Yeah.
down to it, the we have to entertain first more than
Hmm.
anything. Entertain first. Once you got the entertainment in there, it's like this thing, like people don't uh what is it? People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care or something like that. Uh,
Exactly.
so you have to give people that the kind of what they want first,
Hmm.
and that's why putting awareness into something as cool and fun as a comic and doing it in an artistic, creative way, you're giving them that entertainment, but at the same time they're learning something. It's a lot
Yeah.
better. It's a lot better way to get information in a
Hmm.
lot of ways.
Yeah. And that's like you said with the second panel, it's just like the muscular body and then showing the different forms of it. And then I was like, okay, here's that, but now I'm gonna get into the creative aspect and just find ways to like take this information and just make it as creative as possible, but show you, you know, how it could relate in a way to people that are suffering. So yeah.
Totally.
And the thing is, I mean, I could have made like a longer comic, but with dystonia coming up, like I didn't even know there was a whole awareness month about it until I uh started making the comic, and I was like, oh, I want to get this out like in September. So, I was like, okay, I'll do this because even some drummers and musicians, like they suffer from dystonia. Like they could write a piece like they could write their name, write a paper, but ironically when they or sadly I should say, they pick up an instrument or something like that, like their hand wants to cramp up. So it's weird how like dystonia could affect a person like at all times or only in certain parts of their life when they only do certain activities.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that is odd. I've heard of things like that with other things
mhm.
before. So it's interesting. Global Frequency Studios says strip comics like the Boondocks had a cultural impact, mostly through satire, but you can achieve a similar effect these days with memes, which are so much easier to make. And when you think about it, memes are they actually are kind of comics. Like they're pictures with words,
Mhm.
and in some ways they're almost like a comic, if not, almost, maybe you could almost call them a comic.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good point. Let's see what else we got. Interesting. Stinch says, "What format you guys think is the most effective for awareness comics?" Well, personally, I think any format could work. I think the format that people are into the most could bring the most awareness if you can do it well.
Yeah.
But also the one that you're able to make. you know,
Mhm.
um, I like the way that Ronnie did it as a PDF. Or like it's almost similar to like a web comic. Um, I think that's a great way to do it.
Yeah. Because with the PDF, it's something that people could download anywhere on their phone, and you don't have to wait for it to be shipped off in the mail to get it there. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're not going to make any money off of it. So, being able to spread it freely like that without having to pay for shipping, I'm not saying that you can't, as a charity, pay for something,
Yeah.
but that's being able to do it that way is pretty helpful. I think.
Hmm.
I mean, that's kind of the power of the internet, really.
Yeah.
Um, let's see what else we got. Kami Mark says, if the book isn't entertaining, no one's gonna read it to get the message anyways. Yep,
Hmm.
totally. Let's see. Yeah, talking about that acid lace earlier. I asked if in the '80s, did you all think PSA cartoons were cool or cheesy? Oh, I didn't get that particular question. What do you think? Ronnie?
I don't know. Like they had some cool aspects to it. I mean, they were a lot better than a lot of stuff is today. I mean, when you think of a lot of kids stuff today, it's like too kiddie-ish. But then when you think of like cartoons like School of Rock, like I'm a Bill on Capitol Hill, that stuff is iconic. And a lot of people, when you start hearing that, they just want to sing along with it because they know the song.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I mean, those 80s cartoons, I mean, when I was a kid, I think I kind of thought it was a little cheesy, but
Hmm.
I didn't really care too. Um, I didn't mind them. I could, well, it was like, it was a little bit like the vegetables part of the meal, you know? It's like,
Yeah,
oh, well, I want to watch the next cartoon, so I'm going to have to sit through this, you know? Like,
right.
but like somebody else was saying, I forget who in the chat, they do stick with you. Like, um, I talk about the Art and Story Days a lot, the podcast. Jersey Droz talks about it a lot, with He-Man, and he's like, to him, he got a lot of his life lessons from He-Man, like so
Mhm.
many of them, to the point where he's recorded them and he still listens to them to this day. Like, there's some good messages in there, morality messages, and I mean, if it's if it's truth, it's truth, in my opinion. Some people
Mhm.
think, you know, have debates about truth, but I feel like there's a thing called truth, and it's real.
Yeah.
Let's see. Stinch says memes in the referential sense work contextually if people are in it. The greater memes ideas is the rug that ties the room together. Hmm, that's interesting. Let's see. Yeah, anything anything accessible through phone seems like a safe bet. Yeah, that's where people's attention are right now.
Yeah.
So I would agree with that, and that's where their attention is going to be probably for a long time.
Hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. I think it's a pretty cool avenue. I mean, a lot of us, like I said, what I was saying this, I think, while you were gone, Ronnie, is like there's a lot of people trying to shout a lot of things out there. They're trying to say a lot of things, that they believe in strongly,
Yeah.
and shouting at each other doesn't help anything. All it does is
Hmm.
make things worse, honestly. Any kind of violence, stuff like that. There's a lot of unhealthy, unproductive ways to try to get whatever your message is across to people. Um, Comics is a healthy way, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, even you talking about this, it's all about the positivity.
Oh, think you froze up. Hello? You there?
Hello.
Oh, there you are. Okay. I was like, is it working?
Yeah.
Yeah. When
Hopefully,
there's a
I
will,
don't know
when
if
there's a
everybody
will, there's a
left by
way.
now. What's that?
When there's a will, there's a way. You know,
Yeah. No,
ain't
you
gonna
know
let
what's
this
weird?
stop me.
Huh?
Ain't gonna let this stop me.
Yeah, that's true. That's the theme of today anyway. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I mean, it's funny because I actually lost internet too. I don't know why. Like it
Oh,
just stopped
gotcha.
being connected. I don't know why.
That's
We
weird.
got a lot of Fs. F, 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 F. Oh, Sideburn said, "Can we get Fs in the chat?" All right, interesting. Let's see. Let's see if anybody said anything. Yeah, Marsh got them hurricanes in the backyard. Stinch says, "I don't know. That was weird because we have a beautiful day out today, but who knows?"
Yeah. I mean, but that's like Florida weather sometimes. I mean, it can rain like cats and dogs for like 5 minutes and then, or not even 5 minutes, for like a minute, and then be sunny and really hot afterwards.
Yeah, totally. That's what I hear. Like in Florida, maybe it's different parts too, but from what I heard, there's like certain times of the year where it's like we know that for like an hour every day at about this time we are going to get a thunderstorm, and it's
Yeah,
every
pretty much
day.
where I'm
Every
at.
day is beautiful, but
It, yeah, it's pretty much where I'm at.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
but
I
yeah,
can't even imagine. But I guess it's good that you at least get rain and stuff if you need it.
well, yeah.
I don't know. So yeah, I don't know. I forgot what I was saying when it all went down. But I don't know. Um, what was your approach in writing this? Like, what did you think? Like, because you said you didn't want to do such a long comic. What did
Well,
you end up planning for just 2 pages, or what was your thought process when it came to
like I
writing it?
like I wanted to do longer in a way, but when I saw that Dystonia Awareness Month was coming, I'm like, there are ways to break this down to make a big impact to still get the message across, because that's the thing sometimes with comics, is unlike with other media platforms, is that you don't want to tell so much at the same time where like the reader gets like, okay, I just want to see more of the artwork and the story progressing in a way. And even though it's an informative comic, you still want the person to like want to know more. So it's just like going through the articles and like, okay, here's a long list of how dystonia affects you, and let me pick out like key things that like really make an impact, that people are like, okay, wow, I didn't know this. Let me spread the awareness. Let me, if I can't just spread the awareness, let me go to places where I could donate to help find a cure. Because right
Yeah,
now there is no cure, and there's just treatments. Either it's medication, Botox, or even with some surgery like the deep brain stimulation. It's help. It's supposed to help with the muscle spasms and stuff like that, but it's not going to completely get rid of them. Just like with a pacemaker, a person's still going to have a bad heart even with that pacemaker. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's crazy. And it was interesting that it said that they have like brain pacemakers almost.
yeah, that's pretty much what it is. The deep brain stimulation stimulator. It's basically a brain pacemaker, because like
Hmm.
it goes under your chest and it sends signals to your brain to pretty much help neutralize and do crazy stuff. I mean, could go off a whole article of how that works.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, great introduction though. The the mini comic that'll definitely
Mhm.
if people want to look more into it, they can find those articles and stuff. So, and then and then you kind of point to some places where people could get some more information, which is great too. I mean,
Mhm.
I've seen in the back of like some like Christian CDs, hip hop stuff, and other stuff before, where you would have it was just an album, but then behind I think I've seen it maybe even in comics too. I'm sure it's happened where there's like here's if you are having trouble, there's suicide hotline type thing, and the comic was entertaining. You didn't even think you were being preached at, but it was about something serious. And so that's kind of cool too.
Mhm.
Matthew Helms says, "Have y'all seen many comics about awareness of climate change?" I think
That
you
I
mentioned
haven't.
one of them, no, or somebody did. There's like the Toxic Crusader. Is that or no? Is that about that? I don't know. I know that there's a funny, crazy element to that too, but like I think there is something with that. There's also what is it? Captain Planet, right? Is that a
Yeah,
comic?
Captain. No, it's a cartoon series. I don't
Yeah,
know if they ever made it into a comic, but I mean, something like that, I could definitely see them make that in a comic if they ever wanted to, because so many kids I know watched that at a young age, and it was one of those like awareness cartoons where it made a big impact. Where I think it was Hasbro actually made a whole toy line and everything. So yeah.
yeah, cool. Stinch says, "I feel you, Ronnie. Here, I could run through all four seasons during October." Nice. Yeah, we get a lot of seasonal stuff, but not as extreme, I don't think. Generally, well, actually, lately we've lost power. We had hurricanes and stuff recently. We've had some things happen. Let's see. Acidulase says it's portable electroshock therapy. Maybe I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, I haven't looked more into it. I mean, it's a whole article that goes into it.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. I've heard that. I don't know. I feel like I've heard negative things about electroshock therapy, but I don't know really. Um, Swifty says electroshock therapy is no fun. It's revolting. What a shocking experience. I think that's meant to be a joke.
Yeah, that's my brother.
Let's see. Let's see what Lame Vision Official. The great thing is, I think it's possible that most people can bring awareness to something, even if it's bringing awareness for something in your local town or school. I mean, totally. Like, yeah, I don't. I think that the potential for comics is so interesting. Like, I mean, Ronnie, I'm sure you've come across, things like Christian tracks and stuff like that.
Mm.
There's also been like chick tracks and stuff, which that's a whole controversial thing. Like he kind of went crazy with those sometimes, but there are ones that are not as like offensive that aren't from chick or whatever. You know, so there's that. I'm just saying, like, the reason I bring that up is like there's pamphlets. People like you find them in places and stuff. And how much better if it's in comic form. Like even if there's some kind of change you want to bring about in your town, there I don't see any reason why making a comic about it. And even if it's just like um, you know, like I've talked about these mini comics. You take a regular piece of paper, cut it cut it down the center vertically,
Hmm.
and then you fold it in half, and or either way, and you can fold it in half. You could even do it like that, and you've got a comic right here. It's like a cover in 3 pages or something. That's enough to
Yeah.
bring some interesting awareness um, to anything really.
There was
Um,
someone that said something in a comment, and I can't see who it is. It's about Legion, which is
Right.
Xavier's son in the comics, which they actually made a TV show based off of it, and I actually like that TV show.
Hmm. I haven't watched it. I remember when it came out, and I didn't even know it was about like I think it's X-Men, right? Stuff. I don't.
Hmm.
Um, so I was curious. I'd be interested to see it. But it says Legion Marvel was an interesting character at the mercy of his disorder. There's also a lantern with agoraphobia, kind of an awful disorder for someone needing to patrol the open void of space. I would
Yeah.
imagine so. um, yeah, interesting. I mean, if you think about it too, even just X-Men, there's obviously a message there, that was, meant to, it kind of hits on racism and things like that. It really does. It actually does, um, and, you know, Stanley, I heard him a video or a interview. I think Peter Simetti he puts clips sometimes on his personal YouTube, and it was pretty interesting. He's like, I try to bring across. Maybe it wasn't that. I've heard Stanley say this. I don't know where exactly, but he was talking about how like he finds universal truths, and he likes to put messages, and it's all messages that everybody pretty much would agree with, but it's still good to kind of put those messages out there, those positive messages, even just to remind somebody. I mean, how many times have I been reminded in my life that only I can create forest fires or stop forest fires,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
so now I'm more aware about what I would do near places that could cause forest fires.
Hmm.
um, so you know
Yeah.
acid lace chick chacks. I have a 1 inch stack of them right in front of me. I have a bunch of them too. Let's see. Yeah, so I don't know, man. I don't know. I think with all the kind of crazy things that have happened during this stream, we still kind of got around to the topic pretty decent.
I hope you
Um,
could hear me well with these headphones.
what's that?
I, I hope you were able to hear me well with these headphones.
Oh yeah, you sound perfectly fine with them. So
All right, awesome.
yeah. So once again, the link now is in the description for Ronnie's comic. So I would say definitely check that out. It's an interesting. I think it's interesting, even just to see the craft of it, and see how you can bring kind of that entertainment and also information, because the way he expressed it was not just, there was some straightforward, but there was also some of that expression type stuff, and bringing in that pop kind of that pop art kind of vibe to it was cool too, um, and you can learn a little bit something about something you probably don't know about. Most people don't. So definitely check that out, I would say. And what else, where again can people find you, Mr. Crimson Owl Comics?
They can find me on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all as Crimson Owl Comics.
Awesome. And with that, let's all bring awareness to comics. You guys know where to find me, donkeyjawprojects.com and Marsh Comics on Twitter. Other than that, thanks for watching and hanging in there with us. People still hung in, even though we were off for a little bit there.
Yeah,
So thanks for hanging out
appreciate
with
that.
us.
Thank you, everyone, for sticking by.
Absolutely. All right, we'll talk to you guys next time. Later.